Awesome. Hello, I'm Kari Samuels, intuitive counselor and happiness coach. And today I am thrilled to interview and share with you my spiritual mentor, Belinda Davidson. If you don't know her, you need to know her. I share her messages all the time because I love her. She's one of my favorite people, and I have a world of respect for her. She's a well-known medical intuitive, a spiritual mentor, like I said, to me as well. She's an author and public speaker. She's a creator of the Soul Essence Journey and the founder of the School of the Modern Mystic, of which I am a happy student. So thanks, Belinda, for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this. When you and I get together, magic always takes place. And sometimes it takes us in directions that we're not quite sure where we're headed, but it always ends up being magical and a ton of fun. So thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. Yes, magic is one of the words that definitely would describe our energy together. And magic is something I think we both try to share with the world to show people how magical the world is, yet by being grounded. It's an interesting combination, isn't it?
Yep, you got to keep it real because it's all about bringing heaven to earth, isn't it? So if your feet aren't firmly planted in the earth, you're not going to be able to bring down heaven. And I think that's what it means these days to be a modern mystic or a light worker or a healer or an empath. We have to make sure that we're super grounded and aligned and in the here and now and dealing with the everydayness of life, but still reaching for the heavens and bringing down the moon and the stars and the gorgeousness from up there so that we can create beauty and magic in the world. That's what we are, aren't we, Kari? That's what we're doing as modern day women.
Bridging heaven and earth. And I'm so glad you said that because I actually wanted to talk to you about, because the name of your school is the Modern Mystic, and that's something I share as well, as making the mystical mainstream. And I wanted to ask you what your definition of a modern mystic is.
Well, I think my definition of a modern mystic is the definition of my own self. So the way that that term modern mystic came about, it came about in 2011 actually, before I'd heard other people talking about the term modern mystic. And someone asked me what I thought I was. And I said, well, I'm a mystic for the modern world. And she said, well, you're a modern mystic, aren't you? And I'm a modern day woman that has one foot in this world, in the everydayness and life of this world, and I have one foot in another. And then I realized as I started talking about modern mystics and calling myself a modern mystic that there was a whole tribe of women and men that were also modern mystics, walking with one foot in this world and one foot in the other. And that these modern mystics, these everyday men and women, really wanted help and support in learning to step out and shine brightly. So, modern mystic for me is what we all inherently are once we awaken to our divine and innate spiritual gifts and talents. We walk between the modern and the mystical in an evenly balanced and harmonious way.
Yes. So I want to talk to you about this because one of the reasons I adore you is because you are so grounded. And when you talked about having one foot in the other world and one foot in this world, I got this image of like a bunch of people with most of their feet still in the other world, not necessarily in this one. And I want to talk to you about how to how to bring our energy into the modern world in a way that we feel comfortable and we do shine brightly, and keeping it totally real, because I have found lately that in this quest for spirituality and in this quest for being enlightened, in this quest for being psychic and intuitive, we tend to really focus on what we think that means and then get very, very lost in bringing that down to practical reality. And especially since The Secret came out, people have gotten very much about thinking and thinking and thinking and goal setting and this kind of thing, and really not focusing on energy or grounding. Could you speak about that a bit?
I think so. So I think that you and I both feel that the secret was a two-edged sword. I thought it was fabulous when it came out because people became aware of positive thinking and the laws of manifesting.
Mhm.
But the downside to that is that when you don't understand the chakric system, when you don't understand that we have 12 chakras and that our sixth chakra, our middle chakra, is our psychic chakra, when you don't know that it's quite an elevated state to get to open up your psychic and intuitive abilities, you're then wanting to tap into psychic and intuitive abilities for more, well, let's just be honest, superficial reasons.
Yes.
How to get that hot boyfriend, or how to get that attractive wife, or how to get that car space. Now, there's nothing wrong with that initially, is there? When you start to use the law of attraction, the law of manifesting, you can draw these things in. But is that really soul purposefully delicious? Is that really the good stuff? Is that really what we're here to be? So I agree with you completely, Kari, and I think that it's great that it came into consciousness, but people are wanting to get intuitive so that they can assure themselves of superficial success, when
Yeah.
actually intuition and psychic ability is the attributes of attaining wisdom. And this
Yeah.
takes place in chakra 6. Now, before we get to chakra 6, we have to work on 5 chakras that are underneath that. We have to get grounded. We have to feel good about ourselves. We have to align with our purpose. We have to open our heart. We have to speak our truth. We have to really align with our soul. So before we get to chakra 6, we have to undertake an entire journey of really letting go of ego and superficialities and moving into higher self and embracing depth and wisdom. So I think
Yes.
that's what's been bypassed. We have bypassed, spiritually bypassed the chakric work it takes, the soul development that it takes, the aligning with soul and higher self that it takes before we get to chakra 6.
Yeah. As you were going through the chakras when you were talking about 1 through 5, even if people didn't realize you were talking about chakras 1 through 5, but that's what you were doing. When you were talking about that, those were actually all the points I wanted to touch on with you today, because I feel like people are, first of all, focusing only on the law of attraction at the expense of other laws in the universe, and also not grounding into the here and now, but also this chakra too, enjoying your life, having fun, having sensual pleasure. That is way overlooked, isn't it, these days? I mean, what's up with that?
Well, I think that we live in an epidemic of chakra 2 imbalances, in a time of an epidemic of chakra 2 imbalances. And you'll know from knowing chakras like the way I do, a chakra can be very weak or very big. Now, these days I say chakra and chakra. You'll notice that I go between saying both, pronouncing it differently. That's
Yeah.
because people say to me, is it chakra or chakra? And people say both. So I've just adopted the habit of calling
Yeah.
it both. It's the same
Yeah.
word, pronouncing it slightly differently so people understand what I'm talking about. So we live in a society that glorifies chakra 2, yet restricts it. So we live in a society that is about getting quick fixes. So we want more money, or we want more um, more looks, or we want to be more attractive, or we want to lose weight, or we want to find what we want, but we don't want to have to put any effort into achieving that. We want it right now, in the here and now. So we do live in a society that glorifies chakra 2, in that it's all about pleasure and gaining pleasure, and self identification through the way we look and what we have and how much money we have and if our partner on our side is attractive. So that's the over energizing of chakra 2. At the same time, though, we live in a very puritanical society that
Yeah.
thinks that sexual pleasure is bad, particularly for women. So it shames us. It makes us feel bad in our own skin. We're not allowed to feel pleasure. When we're women and we have children and we have jobs, we're not allowed to spend a morning meditating. We need to be working or looking after our children or feeding our husbands. Like, I know that we talk about women's lib, but at the same time, women are still very much stuck in not allowing themselves to have time and pleasure for themselves. So when I say that we live in a chakra 2 problematic epidemic, I mean that there's a glorification of getting more money, getting more power, being addicted to that. That's all chakra 2 stuff. Money, sex, power is chakra 2. But at the same time, we feel shame around enjoying our bodies, enjoying sensuality, enjoying sexuality. Women feel huge shame, and I'm talking predominantly to women because both you and I have predominantly female audiences and female clients. And women feel shame around taking time out for themselves. So actually, it's completely messed up.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about a couple of things here because you were talking about the puritanical ethic, but so that second chakra, money, sex, power, I feel like so many women get their self-esteem, which is also related to our third chakra, right? But by how many strangers want to sleep with you? Like how attractive, and yet there's so much shame around actually taking time to enjoy yourself and your life. And it's, you even wrote about this recently about how hardly any women actually like their bodies. So I feel like there's just, we're setting ourselves up to starve this chakra.
Yes, this that's perfectly put. This chakra is starved. And when I do my seminars and workshops and we work on chakra 2, most people cannot even feel it. And when people come into my school and they do the level 1 course and we do that 3-month chakric journey, they start with chakra 1 and they build it up, then they move to chakra 2. Almost every time the women and men say, I can't feel it. I don't have a connection. We are so far removed from chakric 2 health. And that's because we live in a society in which marketing and media perpetuates the need to be more, to have more, to achieve more, and doesn't allow us to drop into the pleasure. See, when your chakra 2 is fit and happy, you find life, the here and now of life, pleasurable. You stop and look at a butterfly on a windowsill, or you walk and you smell the flowers. So chakra 2 is actually being present and enjoying the sensory experience of the world. But media and marketing don't want us to do that because then they wouldn't have products to sell to us.
No. So how can, because before we talk about anything else, I want to, I want people to benefit from enjoying being in a physical body and enjoying the physical pleasures of the world, because we wouldn't even, we could end the conversation here if we got people to do that. So how would you suggest people nourish this chakra and their esteem about the way they look or their sexuality, or getting away from that workaholism or that sense that I need to be productive or I'm not being valuable? How do you suggest moving away from that?
People need to shift their perspective, and that they need to understand that if you want to change your life, and there's nothing wrong with wanting more time, more money, more beauty, more creativity. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to understand that to change your life externally, you have to change your energy. That's the first thing people have to understand. When people understand that, they then become dedicated to a regular meditation practice. Now, you know that I advocating chakra cleansing and white light work. I happen to have found it the most powerful. I have tested it with hundreds of clients and worked with it in my own life, and now, of course, share it with other people. But when you understand that it's about energy that will change your life, you've got to change your energy field, change your energy and chakras. You then start a regular meditation practice and you connect with your energy. What happens then is you ground naturally in your body, because what happens? Chakra 1 becomes strong. So then you ground in chakra 1. What happens then is you become strong in chakra 2. You begin to enjoy life. Then you start to ground into chakra 3. You feel aligned with yourself and you become much more self-confident. So this shift that has to happen within people is a perspective shift. They have to realize that if they want to live a soulful life, and a soulful life does equate to a bliss-filled life, if you want to live a soulful, bliss-filled life, you have to stop striving and struggling and turning external. You have to stop trying to get that man to make you feel good, or have that body to be validated, or amazing skin, or a beach house to feel good. You need to realize that You have to turn inward and let your chakras do the work. Because you and I both know, Kari, that when the chakras work properly, they
Yeah.
then look after all those aspects of your life for you. So the key is the shift from I've got to change my life to I've got to change my energy, which then changes
Yeah.
my life, and then working on the lower chakras. You've got to root into the lower chakras, because this is the thing. If you aren't strong in chakras 1, 2, 3, and 4, you can't manifest. That is a fact. So the way manifesting happens is that we bring down the ideas and the visions and the love from the higher chakras, and we fuel the energy down into the lower chakras. So you physically, or energetically from my perspective, you energetically and literally cannot manifest. You cannot get the law of attraction to work for you if you do not have strong chakras 1 through 4. Because those chakras create for you what you need to survive, what you need to enjoy your life, what you need to be aligned with your purpose, and what you need to express yourself in a lovingly and creative way.
It's so true. And I'm so happy you're talking about this because I really wanted to talk about how to manifest. And that's what I started to touch on when I was saying about the secret and the law of attraction. I was actually in a screening when people were watching The Secret for the first time. This is years ago, obviously. And I can see people's energy lift from their heart and go up into their heads, actually, because they started to think about what they thought they wanted. And as you know, it's been years of energy workers getting people to reconnect with their heart chakra and not just think their way through things. But even I get caught in this sometimes. Like I'll have a goal that's inspired. It was I have an inspiration about a course that I want to share with the world or a project I want to share with the world, and then I get so caught up in the details of it that I start to stress about it, and then things go wrong and funky.
Mm.
And it takes something going wrong and funky for me to get back to the reality that it's because I started to lose the joy of what I was doing
Yes.
about sharing my message, because my energy was no longer in alignment with my goals, because my joy of teaching is so great, just like yours is. It lights me up more than anything. And my joy is so great teaching, but getting caught up in the technical details and all that stuff started to eat away at my energy. And so that's when the universe would reflect that back to me to remind me that I needed to get back to the joy of what I'm doing. So this still happens to me. I don't know if it still happens to you, but it still happens to me to remind me that it's all about energy, and I need to keep aligning myself with the energy of joy and love and sharing that way. And so that's when things start to flow. And you hear this all the time with people who do like successful launches that are, let's say they're coaches or whatever. It's the ones that were like, hey, I just got this idea and I just put this together. And then like all of a sudden magic happens. It's the ones that you plan and you go through all this stuff that things start getting weird. And that's because our alignment gets out of that flow and that joy. And so usually what I'll do is do your chakra cleanse at that point. and then I feel better and things start to go smoothly.
But I think also it's important to talk about the topic of success. And you were asking about chakra 2, and we were talking about that. And what I find as well that people get very lost in is the whole concept of success. And on the spiritual journey, you have to completely abandon that word because it's completely relative. So I know people very well in that I can see through people, I can see into people. Not
Yeah.
only that, I have a lot of people that sign up for my free Monday White Light wish list. So
Yeah.
I actually know the day to day goings on of what's happening. And the most crippling thing for women, hands down, is measuring their success next to someone else's,
Oh, yeah.
because it is completely relative. It's relative in that you may earn a certain amount of money, but you may have to pay a huge tax bill on that. So how much money did you really earn? Or
Yeah.
you may have lost a certain amount of weight. And for you, that may be the hugest deal, but for someone else, they may have been able to do that in a week. I think that when to be chakra 2 healthy, you have to completely let go of what success is, because we can't help but measure our success by other people if we're not careful. But what people are achieving is completely personal. And it's always relative to where they've come from. It's like we could see someone, for example, we could see someone at McDonald's having an ice cream who's overweight. And if we were looking at that person through the eyes of our ego, we go, oh, they shouldn't be eating an ice cream because they're overweight. But maybe they've already lost a huge amount of weight and it's the first ice cream that they've eaten in a year. I actually had this happen to me and my daughter. We hardly eat at McDonald's. We're on the road a lot, so sometimes it's the only thing open. And she is not allowed to have many sweets. And I gave her, and it was an ice cream and an apple pie. And that's a big deal for us because we eat really well organic and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And a woman looked over at it and over at us, watching me give my daughter that food, and like clicked her tongue. And it was a very,
Oh my
now
gosh.
that's fine, because we shouldn't be giving our kids junk food, should we? Like, I totally get it. And
Yeah.
I may have done that myself. I'm sure I've done that to people. But what hit me at that moment is that was the first ice cream apple pie I think my daughter had ever had at
Wow.
McDonald's, because we don't eat really there
And you're
much.
not American because apple pie and ice cream is what we define America.
Oh,
Like,
okay. Yeah.
apple pie.
But you see what I'm saying? So this is the thing. Women have to completely steer away from success, because
Yes.
so much of what people is proclaim is success is just marketing strategy to look successful, or it's their own personal successes, which is great. We should enjoy each other's success, but it's completely relative. It's
Yeah.
really about living your joy and not even worrying about success. I just try to get that whole mindset of success completely out of my mind and completely out of my life, because it just makes you feel bad.
Yeah. Well, I feel like happiness is success. The first words on my website are your life purpose is to be happy. And I actually wrote down a quote that you wrote on one of your blogs about defending against bad spirits and bad advice, because I think that's one of the fears people have about opening up psychically is connecting with negativity. And so for me, happiness is your best way to good health and all manner of success. But you wrote, happiness is the best defense against bad spirits and their bad advice. If you want to get it right, get your energy field right. Work on your chakras, keep your vibrations raised, and be mindful of your shadow. I thought that was awesome because because it really is. I don't want to say panacea, but it all goes back to energy again. But I want to say one more thing about this before we talk about this some more. Here I go with my spirally conversations. You're used to me now, right, Belinda?
It's all good. I can handle it. It's great.
You can have, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a thing with empaths. So because I think the majority of people that are going to be listening to this are sensitive, empathic people, and it's a tricky thing because you're more sensitive to what other people think and feel about you, and your job to really maintain your well-being is to not care. It's a paradox, isn't it?
Mm. Mm. So is the question then what to do?
Yeah. So like because it's because I think if you're more sensitive, not only do you care about what other people think, but it's like that because you feel what they feel, you there's that sense of maybe always wanting to hop into other people's lives
Of
because
course.
you do it naturally anyway, right?
Of course. I
So what do you have to say about really maintaining your own integrity that way and not comparing and not fearing the judgment? Because I think it's harder for all of those things it's kind of like one of those things like when you do eat healthy, you do react you are more sensitive to when you're out of balance than if you just ate junk food all the time, right? So if you're more sensitive energy field, it's actually takes more discipline to maintain your own integrity.
Yeah, I think it is a challenge posed to empaths and us psychics to not be aware of what, or not care actually about what other people think. See, my difficulty was because I was born so psychic, and I always say too psychic for my own good, and I have spent my entire life trying to deal with the degree of my psychic abilities and gifts, because for most of my life, well, half of my life now, because I'm 37, it was more of a curse than it was a gift. I knew what people were thinking, literally. So, like if I'd stand next to someone, I knew what they thought of me.
Yeah.
And it was very
You feel it.
challenging for me. Yeah. Oh, no, I knew. I mean, I could
And not
hear
only
it.
did you know, it like affects every cell of your being. Like it
Yeah.
truly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did have a huge complex about myself. I not only had a huge complex about what other people thought of my achievements or my looks or, the typical, puberty stuff. I had a huge complex about being weird and about being honest, because I was always in trouble for being weird and I was always in trouble for being honest. So empath psychic people are very tuned into how other people are thinking and feeling about them. But this is the thing. This is what you have to know. Most people are fear-based and live in their ego. So then it's to be expected that they're thinking negative thoughts. When you realize that you have an ego, and God bless Eckhart Tolle, because he's my life teacher, and his amazing books about being present and the ego versus the higher self have revolutionized my life, completely changed my life. When you realize that the ego is just negative, and when the person is full of ego, they're negative, you then no longer take it personally. And of course, you need to do chakra work. Of course, you need to strengthen the lower chakras, because psychics and empaths are very weak in the lower chakras. They're not grounded in chakra one. They're often not even in their physical bodies. They're not experiencing joy and pleasure in life because they feel bad about that. And they have usually very weak chakra threes. They can't hold their own. They can't shield and protect their energy. But what has to happen is you can't take it personally, because if someone's in their ego, they're going to think bad of you. And it's your choice then of how you take that on. Now, my psychic ability is still as strong as it ever was. I'm not any less psychic, but I just don't take things personally anymore. I know what people think about me. I know how they feel about me, but I don't see that as a personal attack, even if they attack me personally. And if they do attack me, then I will look at, okay, have I played a role in this somehow? Have I been unkind? Have I
Mhm.
overlooked? I always, if it is come straight at me, I will look at how I've been personally involved. But generally, I just realize that they're in their ego and that they're judging. And I try my best not to be judgmental of other people. So that's what empaths and psychics have to get. You don't want to tune down your ability. You don't want to close your chakras. Not that you can anyway. Like I've had people lately say, oh, this person cut down her chakra 3, or disconnected her chakra 5, or that person, closed off. You can't even do that. So I don't even know why people are talking about that, because it's not
It's
possible.
not physically possible.
No, because we have chakras, they're part of our energy field, and you can't actually completely shut them off. And that would be very detrimental to your health anyway, to try to weaken them. But what empaths and psychics have to do is A, not to take it personally, and B, not to shut down the intuitive abilities. What they need to do is refine and learn how to use them in an integrated, kind of modern mystic, holistic way.